All right, everyone. We see a lot of articles lately about democracy in peril, democracy backsliding. Our republic is crumbling. They usually don't use the term republic. We are a constitutional republic, not a direct democracy. This is not Switzerland. Thankfully, if you're going to have a homogeneous, highly literate society, they can probably make things work. But if you have a heterogeneous society with a lot of political polarization, direct democracy becomes two wolves and a sheep deciding what to have for dinner. That's the old adage. So we're not really a democracy, but we're going to use the colloquial sense of the term here. A stand-in for the constitutional democratic republic that we actually are. We've got a constitutional system, we elect our officials. So there are elements of democracy at the local and state level, of course, ballot initiatives and things like that, but, it takes a backseat to mainline politics. It shouldn't. People should be more aware of what ballot initiatives, etc., are being passed at any given time, and a lot of times people ignore that. Vote yes on Proposition 4030A or something like that, and nobody shows up for the town meeting. You still have those up here in New England, by the way. There's one fix for the perception of the backsliding of democracy, and that's to elect Donald Trump, for several reasons. Number one, if we're going to defend Western civilization, the ideological concept of a constitutionally constrained, fair, it never has been, but we attempt to approximate it, system in which people are civically active, in which people are hopefully taking their own initiative. Oftentimes, sadly, they don't, but there's an attempt made, in which we understand that government does not need to micromanage every aspect of our lives, in which we can get away from some of the worst aspects of the regulatory state and not rob people blind all of the time. Then there's Trump. If you want to maintain the current course, which is towards more regulation, politicians constantly insulting large swaths of the electorate on a regular basis, you'll notice Trump will get in trouble with the legacy media for insulting an individual, a particular person who's made a shitty political comment, a fellow politician, something like that. Liberals, meanwhile, you saw Hillary Clinton just the other day doing this, insult enormous chunks of people, entire blocks of people, on a regular basis, indiscriminately. Hillary Clinton effectively saying anyone that shows up at Madison Square for the Trump rally there is a Nazi, quite literally invoking that particular imagery. Happens all the time. If you have, therefore, hyperpolarization, hyperpartisanship, although it is on the decline actually at the moment. Most people haven't noticed this. Independent voter registration has risen substantially. The number of people registered as Dems and Republicans has actually fallen off a cliff to, I think, a 30-year low at this point. I consider this a good thing. They're all up in arms about it. Oh my God, people are abandoning... Good, they're abandoning political parties. Excellent. Our founders didn't even want them to exist. Neither do I. I think that people should be judged on their own merits as opposed to being part of this dichotomous big umbrella ideology that we have in the United States, generally speaking. I think it's unhelpful, generally. It's helpful for the purposes of collating people together into coalitions, but there are better ways to do it, like, hey, I voted for this person because I actually like what they've done and what they stand for, not because of the letter after their name. The magical letter, D or R or L or G or whatever the hell it happens to be. C for communism. There is an American Communist Party, it's just never really gotten off the ground. I mean, the Green Party laughs at them, so there's that. If democracy, in the representative sense, truly is backsliding, vote for Donald Trump. We can restore the republic. This is not a partisan message. I say this as a non-Republican. I'm an independent voter. I happen to be voting for Trump. I'm not going to vote for a Mitch McConnell. I'm not going to vote for a Ted Cruz. He's partially redeemed himself, I guess. He's less derpy than he was when he was running for the presidency. He's redeemed himself partially. Marco Rubio, for example. But I'm not going to vote for a Mitch McConnell. I'm not going to vote for a Lindsey Graham. I don't like a Bush or something like that. Jeb, out of nowhere. Yeb. No, thank you. No more Clintons, no more Bushes. Preferably no more Obamas or Harrises either. I think we can restore our republic. So I encourage you, if you're not registered to vote, you should register to vote. You probably have a friend or a relative who's reluctant to register to vote. Well, get them fucking registered. That's number one. Knock on the door, harvest a ballot, do whatever you do. Speak out against the... you got to rage against the machine. The machine is the uniparty filled with globalists who have no national loyalty and are selling our nation downriver at the moment. We need to defeat them. But that's only one step. If you're going to cross that river, you're going to have to step across more than one stone. Donald Trump is just the first in a long line that we need to cross in order to get across the River Jordan, so to speak. It's a one small step for mankind. I would point out again, it goes beyond the borders of the United States. It most directly impacts us as Americans. It also impacts people all over the world. The direction diplomatically and economically that we take becomes a template for certain other nations. There are a lot of nations that are pegged to our currency. A lot of people don't realize how many nations in the world are pegged to the US dollar as far as their currency and exchanges go, their markets. It impacts our ability to help our friends. It impacts our ability to, push back against our opponents. It impacts our ability to conduct meaningful diplomacy, to try to draw people in, and also to help people around the world. For instance, let's say our agricultural policy falters, and under the Biden administration, agricultural policy is meh, it's mediocre at best. Kamala couldn't even grow a goddamn bean plant, so I have a feeling it'd be even worse under her. At least Joe Biden, he probably knows how to grow a fucking hollyhock. He probably doesn't kill every houseplant that he's ever gifted. Kamala probably kills them on purpose. Can you imagine U.S. Foodstuffs begin to falter, our wheat crop fails? So, do you realize how many people around the world would starve? Tens of millions of them. Not a pretty picture. And although there's something to be said anthropologically for not dispensing direct aid so that local farming picks up in those countries, you do have to help them at certain times. Otherwise, again, you get a shit ton of dead people. And diplomatically, at least, even if you don't give a fuck about the famine, kids, it's not a good look for the Western world when we say, there's nothing we can do about it. We're just going to let that corn sit in the silo over there, the soybeans and shit. Instead of putting soy in our own food, we should be shipping them off to other countries. Maybe lower the birth rates or something like that. Decrease the surplus population. But, democracy is, in essence, it is backsliding. But not in the way that the liberal commentators typically envision it as. They think, well, democracy is backsliding because Donald Trump is authoritarian. Yeah, he is an authoritarian. He's far less authoritarian than the Unipartyists, that's for sure, especially in foreign policy. Hard to be an authoritarian when you want less of people's money. Hard to be as authoritarian when you want to rip up 5 regulations for every new one that's put on the books, which Trump actually enacted successfully as president in his first term and pledges to carry on in his second. Those aren't authoritarian positions. No, an authoritarian position is I want more of your money, I'm going to regulate your businesses more, start a war, and shit like that. That's the uniparty line. That's the line of people like Kamala and Biden and people like Mitch Bitch McConnell, who we'll be talking about separately because he's shown his true colors again by ragging on MAGA. Yes, I'm going to take Mitch McConnell seriously. You know, the cocaine yacht dude? I wonder how much of that coke got into Kamala's nose, by the way. We know that she's a fiend. She's basically like, Princess Leia Organa, with her coke nail there. Carrie Fisher. Yeah, democracy is backsliding, but it's not because of MAGA. It's backsliding because of the Uniparty. They're slowly tearing it to shreds. They're trying to keep people from living their lives in a meaningful and independent and free manner. That's about all. Peace out.